What's going on, guys? Jeff here for Mad Hatter's Reef, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 saltwater fish that I would put into a 30-gallon reef tank. Welcome back to Mad Hatter's Reef. This is where I talk about everything reef tank related. So if you love reef tanks like I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 saltwater fish that I would put into a 30-gallon tank if I was going to be starting one today. So let's jump into it. Alright folks, so we are going to kick things off with number 10 on our top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon aquarium. And at the number 10 spot is the Sailfin Benny. Now this guy is considered easy to care for, has a peaceful temperament, eats plants, and is considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 5 inches. So this is a saltwater fish that is going to grow pretty large, but also a saltwater fish that is going to accommodate a 30-gallon aquarium. They are absolutely beautiful as they grow up and are very sight oriented, which makes them a good candidate for a 30-gallon aquarium. And being easy to care for also makes them a good candidate for beginners. A great fish, not going to break the budget, and I would love to have one in the water box, and I'm probably going to be adding one to that tank very, very soon. Another great thing about this fish is it is a algae eater, so it's going to do a lot of work for you. It's going to keep your rock work looking great. They constantly graze, which makes them a great little worker for your 30-gallon aquarium. Coming in at number 9 on the top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon aquarium is the clown Goby. Now this guy is a very sight-oriented fish, but typically, well, I guess there's some variations between the yellow clown Goby and the green clown Goby. In most cases, what I've seen with the green guy is that he's a bottom dweller, very sight-oriented fish, which makes it a good candidate for smaller aquariums. But with the yellow clown Goby, they tend to be a little bit more of that mid-range of the tank, perching quite often. That's not to say that the green isn't going to perch on different parts of the rock work, but it does seem like there's a little bit of a variance between the two. So either one is a really good candidate for a 30-gallon aquarium. They are considered easy to care for, have a peaceful temperament, carnivore-based diet, are considered reef safe, even though that there have been hobbyists, myself included, that have had issues with them and corals. They grow upwards of 1 3/4 inches, and minimum tank size for these guys is 10 gallons. Very sight-oriented fish, great addition to a 30-gallon aquarium. Coming in at number 8 on our top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon aquarium is the tail spot Benny. Now, we've already had one Benny on this list, and it's important to mention that it isn't really a good idea to mix and match different fish of the same species in one tank, especially a tank as small as a 30-gallon aquarium. That's not to say that you could put both these fish in a larger aquarium and they'd be just fine, because they do have their little territories and kind of stick to themselves. But in a smaller aquarium, I wouldn't recommend putting 2 of the same species in the same tank. The tail spot Benny is considered easy to care for, has a peaceful temperament, is a herbivore, considered reef safe, and grows upwards of 2.5 inches. Minimum tank size on this guy is 10 gallons, which makes it a really good candidate for a 30-gallon saltwater aquarium. Coming in at the number 7 spot on our top 10 is the Cardinal Fish. This guy is an amazing addition to really any reef tank. They are considered easy to care for, are semi-aggressive, and I've had trouble with these guys in the past. There was one point where I was trying to add 3 or 4 of them to the 220-gallon. I wanted a little group of them, but in quarantine, 2 of them actually paired off and ended up killing the other 2 in the tank. And I definitely believe that that had something to do with whatever the sex of those fish were. But ultimately, they are semi-aggressive, and in a large group, they potentially could take out some other ones, but it really comes down to the mix of the sex of the fish. They have a carnivore-based diet, are considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 3 inches, and they really get interesting looking the bigger they get.
And the minimum tank size for this guy is 30 gallons. And in a smaller aquarium, such as a 30-gallon aquarium, I probably wouldn't put more than 2 of this type of fish in one tank. Coming in at the number 6 spot, we have the purple firefish. This guy is considered easy to care for, is incredibly peaceful. So it's definitely a fish that you want to be careful how you add it to the tank. It's not a fish that you want to add later into the stocking plan of your tank. This fish is a carnivore, is considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 3¼ inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 20 gallons. And it's definitely worth mentioning again that this is an incredibly timid fish. It needs lots of hiding places in the rock work and should be the first fish added to any setup if you plan on keeping any type of firefish in your system. Coming in at number 5 on our top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon reef tank is the Orchid Dollyback. They are considered easy to care for, have a semi-aggressive temperament to the point where I would even call them just flat out aggressive. They are a very sight-oriented fish, which makes them a good candidate for captive breeding. And I would recommend that at any point that you have the opportunity to buy a captive bred saltwater fish, you do that because it's going to support aquaculture, which it's incredibly important to sustain this hobby. We have to move more towards captive bred saltwater fish, captive bred clams, invertebrates, and it's also going to be a fish that is much more healthy and in tune with aquarium life, as opposed to getting a wild caught fish and then forcing it to live in a much smaller setting that it's used to. Captive bred is definitely the way to go. The Orchid Dollyback is a carnivore, is considered reef safe, captive bred like we've talked about, and requires a minimum tank size of 30 gallons. It's just a fish that you want to make sure that you don't have any other dollybacks in there, and if you have another fish in there with it, that it is one that is going to be able to hold its own with this aggressive fish. Coming in at number 4 on our top 10 list is the Aptasia eating filefish. Now, this is a guy that you definitely don't want to put with number 5, the aggressive Orchid Dollyback. This is a very peaceful fish that just kind of likes to float around and pick at Aptasia. So you need to have a good supply of Aptasia in your tank for this guy to have a nice, long, happy life. They are considered moderate care level due to their eating requirements, but being a captive bred fish, again, more adapted to aquarium life, and is going to be much more successful in an aquarium setting. Minimum tank size on this guy is 30 gallons, but again, needs plenty of food to maintain a happy, healthy, long life. Coming in at number 3 on our top 10 is the Snowflake Clownfish, or any clownfish for that matter. They are considered easy to care for, have a peaceful temperament, omnivore-based diet, are considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 3 inches, and require a minimum tank size of 20 gallons. A very well-known captive bred fish that is going to definitely balance out any reef tank. I have a hard time imagining any reef tank without a clownfish. In fact, every reef tank I have has clownfish in it. Snowflake clownfish are one of my most favorite designer clownfish, and I did put a video together on the top 10 designer clownfish. If you guys want to check that out, I'll be putting a link in the description below for you to do just that. One of my personal favorites, the Snowflake Ocellaris clownfish, coming in at the number 3 spot. Coming in at number 2 on our top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon aquarium is the yellow Watchman Goby. This guy is an absolute stunner. Beautiful saltwater fish, is considered easy to care for, has a peaceful temperament unless you mess with him, because he will open that mouth out and chase off anybody that gets a little too close to his little nook of the reef. Is a carnivore, is considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 4 inches, and even though that it is a larger fish, it's very sight orientated, which makes it a good candidate for a smaller aquarium such as a 30-gallon aquarium. Here we are, folks, at the number 1 spot on our top 10 saltwater fish for your 30-gallon aquarium. And coming in at number 1 is the spotted Mandarin. Now, the reason that this guy hit the number 1 spot is out of all of the Mandarins available, it is probably the easiest to care for, but yet not an easy to care for fish. That's definitely something that I need to stress. It is a moderate care level fish, and that is due to its feeding requirements. It needs a healthy population of copepods in the tank so it's able to kind of feed as it wants to throughout the day. It is considered a peaceful fish, has that carnivore diet, needs copepods to make sure that it is going to have a nice, happy, long life, is considered reef safe, can grow upwards of 3 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 30 gallons.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. If you want to learn more about selecting saltwater fish and adding them to your reef tank, check this video out. I'll see you over there.